What's going on, everyone? Anthony Drew Gary here, host of the How To Show, where we talk about optimizing life, money, and happiness one how-to at a time. This week we're going to talk about how to declutter your home, and the idea behind this video came from a recent book that I read. It's The Happiness Project by Gretchen Rubin. And in this book, she talked about the 8 types of clutter. And I want to break those down. I want to show you that they exist in my house and they probably exist in yours too. And I think there's something powerful here that if you can identify these, you can probably start to mitigate them in your house. And so let's jump right into it and talk about the 8 different types of clutter. The first thing that Gretchen talks about in her book is nostalgic clutter. And this is made up of relics or things that you hang on to from past lives, earlier lives, whatever it may be. And I think we all have these. Mine look like this. This is a bag of track spikes that I have not worn in 14 years, but for whatever reason, they're still in my house right now. Things that I could probably donate, get into better hands, something like that. And so the next one is self-righteous conservation clutter. And these are the types of things that you keep because they're useful, but maybe not so useful to you. And so with those, we've got flower vases. From any time I've ever bought flowers for my wife, you get the vase. And for whatever reason, we now are vase collectors because you just can't get rid of these things because they're useful, right? No, you can get rid of these things, and maybe we should too. The next one we're going to talk about is bargain clutter. And this results from buying unnecessary things because they're on sale. And my example for that was the picture for the thumbnail to this video, the plastic cups that you buy from the dollar store or the big box store, when in reality you have tens, dozens, hundreds of cups at home already, but you just can't resist. They're just so good looking. Nope, you don't need those either. So the next thing that comes to mind is freebie clutter. And this is made up of gifts, hand-me-downs, and giveaways that really aren't used. And this could very easily be inheritance clutter as well. You just get things given to you that you didn't really ask for. And another source of this freebie clutter is golf outings. You get these tchotchkes in these bags. You go to these conferences, you get these tchotchkes in the bags. I've got one of these as an example. This is one of those magnetic bag clips. This particular one references the MBA program for a university that I did not even go to get my MBA. So it's a nice bag clip, but probably don't need it in the grand scheme of things. The next thing we've got is crutch clutter. And so that's made up of things that you still use, but maybe you shouldn't. A good example of this might be a t-shirt that's got holes in it, it's ratty. You just can't get rid of it, even though you probably should. Everyone has an example of these, including myself, which is a pair of sandals that have been around since I was in middle school. I have a new pair of sandals, but for whatever reason, those still linger on in the house. Need to get rid of them, different things like that. The next thing that comes to mind is aspirational clutter. And this is made up of things that you own because you aspire toward them, you aspire to be them. I think everybody can relate to having a James Patterson or a Dean Koontz or a Stephen King novel sitting on their shelf that they have never read, have no anticipation to read it. Otherwise, it wouldn't still be sitting on the shelf unread. All of those books, donate them to your library, donate them to your local charity so that they can sell them, and then they can sit on the next person's shelf without being read. Or just donate them, get them from your library. You don't have to read them right away. You can read them whenever it makes sense. The next thing that's talked about in the book is outgrown clutter. And this is made up of stuff that once upon a time you used but doesn't really have any impact for you right now. For that, we've got some chalkboard chalk. Once upon a time, my wife was a school teacher, but she's not one right now. We've got a whole bunch of teaching supplies, but this really comes to mind because I don't even think we have a chalkboard in our house, but we have chalk. Great. We can probably get rid of that or give it to somebody who might be able to actually use it. And then the final piece of the 8 pieces of clutter is buyer's remorse clutter. And this is made up of stuff that you probably should have returned, but you didn't, and for whatever reason, it was just easier to ignore it. But you can't help but hang on to these things because you spent a decent amount of money on them. And so my example for this is a black bow tie. And once upon a time, I thought I was going to go to a bunch of black tie events, And then the world decided to play a funny trick on me, and so if I put this around my neck, this is about as far as I get in tying this up, because I never learned how to tie one of these, and I have never needed to wear a bow tie since I got one. Those are the 8 types of clutter, and if you think about them individually, you may be able to identify some pieces of clutter in your house so that you can declutter. At the bottom in the show notes, I will link to the 8 types of clutter. You can check them out for yourself and find out if this list is helpful for you to identify clutter in your house so you can move it out. That's going to bring this episode of the show to a close. If you need to declutter, or you know someone who needs to declutter, or you think the world could just use a good decluttering, hit the like button and share the video to make sure that the YouTube world knows that this is a video worth watching. If you have any feedback or topics for future episodes of the show, leave me a comment down below and I will engage with you there. If you listen to podcasts instead of the video forms, you can check me out on the podcast player of your choice. And that'll wrap this week up. This is Anthony Drew Gary, host of The How To Show, signing off.